Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham, breaking down the 53-man roster as it sits right now. The Chicago Bears have made their cuts, and they have finalized, at least for the moment, their 53-man roster. So we'll go ahead and break it all down for you guys on today's show. They've cut from 80 to 53. Things can and likely will change over the next 24 to 48 hours depending on cuts around the National Football League. And then, of course, the practice squads will start being finalized on Sunday and on into Monday as well. As far as the current roster, let's start. Quarterbacks, just two. Mitchell Trubisky, who was named the starter last night. Nick Foles will be the backup. Tyler Bray has been released. Look for him to return to the practice squad, but that is the 53-man roster as it sits right now. No huge surprises, like I mentioned. Trubisky as the starter and Nick Foles as the backup. Now, I want to ask you guys this question. Are you happy about Mitchell Trubisky being named the starting quarterback? If you are, type Y for yes. If you're like, I'm not really that into it, go ahead and type your N for no. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. And while you're at it, I want to tell you guys about this sweet deal at our partner Fanatics. We've got face coverings available just for you guys at chatsports.com/Bears masks. Go ahead and take advantage. Some of these now are on sale, so don't miss out. I'll put this link in the comments and in the description. This 3-pack is on sale, as is this 3-pack, I believe, as well at chatsports.com/Bears masks. Tons of different ones available just for you guys. That link will be in the comments, and it'll be in the description. One more time, it's chatsports.com/Bears masks. Let's keep it moving here. Let's go to the running back position, and I nailed this one. David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Cordero Patterson, and Ryan Nall. Those are your 4 backs. Artavis Pierce, Napoleon Maxwell are cut. And what this tells me is that the Bears are pretty confident that David Montgomery is going to return very, very soon, which is a very, very good sign for the Chicago Bears. Maybe he doesn't miss any games at all at the end of the day, but no real shockers here. David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Cordero Patterson, and Ryan Nall are your running backs on the roster as of now, with Nall, of course, being that running back, fullback hybrid. Okay, let's go to the receiver depth chart. Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Ted Ginn, Riley Ridley, Darnell Mooney, Javon Wims. I predicted these 6. This is what it ends up being for the Chicago Bears. In the end, they keep 6. I like this for Chicago. I like Javon Wims making this football team. I definitely like Mooney and Ridley making it as well. They earned spots onto this roster, so I'm very, very happy that they recognize that and put them on the team. Now, before we get to tight ends here, I want you guys to get subscribed to the channel. We broke down Mitchell Trubisky being named the starter, as we do all breaking news. So you got to subscribe and turn on notifications. We got the latest rumors, the latest news surrounding the Chicago Bears. And for those of you guys who might be watching for the first time, we do mailbags here on Bears Now. So always use hashtag Bears in the comments section and put your questions down below. We answer as many as we can here on Chicago Bears Now. But first, you got to make sure you're subscribed, so go ahead and do that. Tight ends here, Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, and Demetrius Harris. And guys, they just can't let go of some of these guys. Eric Saubert and J.P. Holtz make it as well. They're carrying 5 tight ends for whatever reason. I projected 3. I thought they would honestly do 4. I was hoping they would only do 3, those the 3 pictures you see on screen, but Saubert and Holtz make it. Jesper Horsted was released. Luckily, they didn't keep 6. They didn't go completely insane, but overall, definitely still a little bit insane in the end. They are keeping 5 tight ends on the active roster as of now, so we'll see if that could change at some point. What is your one-word reaction to the Bears keeping, again, 5 tight ends? I don't get it. I don't really understand it, but one of you guys can explain it in one word. Let me know what your one-word reaction is. For me, it's just the word why. Why do you need 5 tight ends? I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense, but hey, the Bears seem to like some of these guys for whatever reason, so good for them at the end of the day. So they're going to keep 5 tight ends on the roster. We will see what they do moving forward here in the end. Here in a sec, we'll get to the offensive line here. Here we go. These are the guys they're keeping. 9 offensive linemen, your starters, Charles Leno Jr., James Daniels, Whitehair in the middle, Cody Whitehair. I think Jermaine Ifedi is your starting right guard, then Bobby Massey, and then Jason Spriggs. Arlington Ambright, I projected the wrong 7th-round offensive lineman. Lachavious Simmons was cut. They keep Hambright, Rashad Cowart, and Alex Bars are your 9 offensive linemen there. So they opt to keep 9 in the end right there. We will see what this looks like moving forward. I would expect Lachavious Simmons to come back on the practice squad, maybe a couple of other guys as well. Speaking of a lot of those guys who got cut, let's put it in list form for you guys so you guys can check it out. Tyler Bray, Artavis Pierce, and Napoleon Maxwell, Alex Wesley, Ahmad Wagner as well. A couple more receivers here. Reggie Davis, Rodney Adams, Thomas Ives, Jesper Horsted, like I mentioned, the tight end, and Bedora Traore, the offensive lineman, gets released as well. Several offensive linemen, Corey Levin, Dieter Eiselin, I mentioned Lachavious Simmons, Sam Mustapher, a bit of a surprise to some people, so that was definitely one that people thought they might keep. They opted not to do that. So those are the cuts on the offensive side of the ball. So I want to ask you guys this question. What is your who was the biggest surprise cut for the offense in your mind? Not a ton of huge surprises. The biggest surprise, quite frankly, was the fact that they're carrying 5 offensive or tight ends, I should say, not offensive linemen, 9 offensive linemen, but 5 tight ends. Biggest surprise cut for the offense, though. Go ahead, let me know what you guys think down in the comments section, who the biggest surprise on the offensive side was. Defensive side, a little light here at defensive line. They did cut Abdullah Anderson, Akeem Hicks, John Jenkins, Bilal Nichols, Roy Robertson-Harris, and Brent Urban. They are your 3 defensive linemen on up front, so I guess they feel like Akeem Hicks, he's ready to go, which is a very, very good sign, but they do opt to go a little bit thinner there on that defensive line. And maybe it's because, a guy like Robert Quinn could put his hand in the dirt if needed as we shift the linebacker here. 9 in total, 4 inside linebackers, 5 outside linebackers. Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, your starters there on the outside with Trevis Gibson. James Vaughters makes it. He was a bit of a surprise making it. Barkevius Mingo, Josh Woods, and then Joel Iggy, as they like to call him there, as your last inside linebacker. But they go 9 in total at the end there of the depth chart. So they go 9 linebackers. They go a little heavier there, so not really a bit of a surprise. Vaughters was a tick of a surprise, but in the end, nothing too shocking right there. Want to get to the cornerback position here as we continue with our Bears 53-man roster projection. This is one of the bigger surprises of the day. Only 5 corners. Fuller, Jalen Johnson, Buster Screen, Duke Shelley, and Kendall Vilder. Stephen Denmark is cut. But not just Stephen Denmark, guys. Kevin Toliver, this is one of the biggest surprises for me, at least, is that they're cutting their veteran, or a guy who was competing for the CB2 spot. Not really a vet. He's still a young player, but cutting Kevin Toliver. I was surprised by this move. I did not see this coming. So this one caught me a little bit off guard. They decide to cut him. They want to bring him back on the practice squad, but I, for one, am definitely fairly surprised that they have opted to cut Kevin Toliver, which leads me to ask you guys this question. How surprised are you that Kevin Toliver got cut? Scale it from 1 to 10 for me. 1 being, I'm not surprised at all. I am in the Bears front office and I knew this was coming. 10 being, oh, wow, I can't believe they cut this guy. I meant like a 7 or 8. Like, it's pretty surprising. He was apparently at one point competing for the starting the CB2 job, and now all of a sudden he's out of work. So I think he'll be back in the practice squad if he doesn't get picked up, but still a little bit of a surprise. You look at the full secondary here. They go 5 safeties: Tayshaun Gibson, Eddie Jackson, Deion Bush, DeAndre Houston Carson, and Sherrick McManus. Christian there, Marquis Christian, he is not part of the initial 53 as he is suspended for the first 2 games. So the Bears will have to cut somebody to make room for him in Week 3 if they decide to keep him. But that is your secondary there. 5 corners, 5 safeties, 10 in total, including 5 safeties of Gibson, Jackson, Bush, Houston Carson, and Sherrick McManus. So let's take a look real quick at some of the cuts on the defensive side of the football. Like I mentioned, Kevin Toliver being the biggest surprise overall, but Abdullah Anderson was certainly a surprise also. I did not expect that to be the case for the Chicago Bears. Laquel London gets released. I think they'd like to bring him back on the practice squad as well. Lee Autry, Trevon McSwain, a couple of UDFA defensive linemen. Isaiah Irving, Keandre Jones. Irving, a bit of a surprise. LeDarius Mack. I think that the Bears would like to bring him back onto the practice squad. Yes, he is the younger brother of Khalil Mack, as we all know, and Rashad Smith as well. Then a few more. I mentioned Kevin Toliver, Stephen Denmark, Xavier Crawford was also cut. And then Cairo Santos, the kicker. That's one to keep an eye on because the Bears do want to keep 2 kickers, so I think they would like to bring him back onto the practice squad if he clears waivers and all of that. I expect he will. I don't think a team will sign him, but just keep that in mind as we push forward here over the next couple of days. Who is the biggest surprise cut for the defense? I just went through the list there. Let me know. I think it's Kevin Toliver. I don't think it's even close. That is by far the biggest surprise for me, but let me know who you guys would have as your biggest surprise for the defensive side in terms of which players did indeed get cut. For me, again, it is Kevin Toliver. And just to wrap things up here, Eddie Pinheiro, Pat O'Donnell, Patrick Scales. We'll see what happens with Pinheiro. They could IR stash him after the initial 53 and the waivers go through, and then call up Cairo Santos. That would not surprise me. You'll just have to wait and see. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're going to have it all covered. We'll have a practice squad video here in a couple of days once the 16-man practice squad is finalized. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications, do all of that good stuff, and leave your comments to all the questions I asked. I will talk to you soon. I am signing off here on Chicago Bears Now.